Hello, good to see you. It was 75 degrees today, so I felt I need to shave. I felt really good. Um, Starting to lose weight, so the pressure's coming off my back. I'm doing stretching exercises that I found on the internet. He was the doctor was supposed to prescribe um, therapy, but didn't happen. There's so much stuff that doesn't get done properly in this society. Um, and I just didn't have time to keep correcting them because I can't do everybody's job. I'm trying to work. We're dealing with housing voucher systems, and it's all out of control. But this week we'll be reading from the end of history in The Last Man. And I was watching a podcast, and they were saying that a lot of neoliberals believe in this. And I've heard people talk about this. Francis Fukuyama's. I heard people talk about this a lot. So I said, give it some reading. We'll discuss it. We'll deal with it. At least you know how I do. I take a chapter. So I'm going to be reading from chapter 8, Accumulation Without End. Our country has not been lucky. Indeed, it was decided to carry out this Marxist experiment on us. Fate pushed us in precisely this direction. Instead of some country in Africa, they began this experiment with us. That's just weird and racist. In the end, we proved that there is no place for this idea. It has simply pushed us off the path the world's civilized countries have taken. This is reflected today when 40% of the people are living below the poverty level, and moreover, in constant humiliation when they receive produce upon presentation of ration cards. This is constant humiliation, a reminder every hour that you are a slave to this country. That's from Boris Yeltsin in a speech to a meeting of Democratic Russia, Moscow, June 1st, 1991. Now, Yeltsin was Bill Clinton's boy. So this is Yeltsin, Clinton, Biden. They all have this idea. First of all, they just think people like me, we're second class. Second class. Period. I don't care how extraordinary you are. You could be 100 times smarter than them. Black people, African people, dark people are second class. Second of all, he says that 40% of the people were living under the poverty line in Russia in 1991. Our country is supposed to be at the height of capitalism. 60% live at or below the poverty line today. I'm below the poverty line. So, if that failed, then what is our society doing? And the Soviet Union wasn't Marxist, and it wasn't communist. It was state-run capitalist. That's what it was. And we'll get into that if we get to that part in this chapter, maybe not this reading, the next reading. All we have demonstrated up to this point is that the progressive unfolding of modern natural sciences produces a directional history and certain uniform social changes across different nations and cultures. Technology and the rational organization of labor are the preconditions for industrialization, which in turn engenders such social phenomena as urbanization, bureaucratization, and the breakdown of extended family and tribe ties or tribal ties, and increasing levels of education. We have also shown how the dominance of modern natural science over human life is not likely to be reversed under any foreseeable circumstances, even under the most extreme circumstances. We have not, however, demonstrated that science leads in any necessary way either to capitalism in the economic sphere or to liberal democracy in the political sphere. First of all, there was science. There's been science in humanity for since the beginning of humanity, since the first human being. It's always been science. This whole idea that there was no science and no technology before basically Europeans, or that you have to industrialize, that the science automatically is going to lead you there, or I'm not sure what he's saying about, science being a modern natural science. I mean, science has always dominated our lives. When you learn how to make fire, that's science, right? When you watch animals eat a plant and get sick and die and then know not to eat that, that's science. I mean, so you could do, I mean, science is, you could do simple science, you could do complex science. Let's keep going. And indeed, there are examples of countries that have gone through the first stages of industrialization that are economically developed, urbanized, and secular, possessing a strong, coherent state structure and a relatively well-educated population, but that are neither capitalist nor democratic. The chief example of this for many years was Stalin's Soviet Union, which between 1928 and late 1930s had accomplished a fantastic social transformation from a largely peasant agricultural country to an industrial powerhouse, without permitting its citizens either economic or political freedom. Indeed, the speed with which this transformation occurred seemed to demonstrate to many people that centralized planning under a police state tyranny was in fact a more effective means of achieving rapid industrialization than free people operating in free markets. We're not free, and there's no such thing as a free market. But let me finish this chapter. We'll come back to that. Isaac Deutscher, writing in the 1950s, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, could still maintain that centrally planned economies were more efficient than the anarchical workings of market economies, and that nationalized industries were better able to modernize plant and equipment than those in the private sector. The existence through 1989 of countries in Eastern Europe, which were both socialist and economically developed, appeared to indicate that centralized planning was not incompatible with economic modernity. First of all, capitalism works like this. The people who control the capital, and they call it capital, but it's natural resources. Everything in this world is made from natural resources. Even if you make synthetic copies, you have to have them natural. And even the synthetics are made out of something that's a resource on this planet. The people who control that dominate everything else. That's how capitalism works. So Russia was state run, and it wasn't democratic. It was state run capitalism. The state decided what got made, when got made, how it got made. In the United States, corporate heads decide what gets made, how it gets made, who makes it, how much you pay, how much you get paid, how much you don't, all of that. So one was done by corporate heads. One was done by, might as well say it was a state corporation, Soviet Union. Because when they dismantled, all of the Russian oligarchs that you hear them talking about, they were KGB, they were government. So it was a state-funded capital society. We have a corporate-run capitalist society. All socialism is workers deciding what to do with the resources. Now, the reason why we'll never get there is because madmen have taken weapons, and that's really the only way you can do this, have taken weapons and pointed them at everyone else and taken control of natural resources. And whenever the rest of us try to use it without their permission, you get shot, you get killed, you get put in prison, maybe you get stabbed, whatever the case may be. So that's basically how this thing goes. So this is not a free society as far as labor and capital is concerned, as far as natural resources is concerned. And it's not a democratic society. I'm in New York State, supposed to be a liberal bastion. I can't vote in the primary because I'm an independent. So we don't have open primaries. And New York State is the hardest, or one of the hardest states to get your name on the ballot if you're an independent, it's not really hard to register. You can register. They always registering people, but it's hard for people to run. It's hard to get your name on ballots. It's hard to do the whole signature thing, and you have to have a lot of signatures if you want to run in New York State. So there's no free and there's no free market. There's no free hand deciding who goes where and what. Corporate heads decide. And the reason why, one of the reasons why this whole society is collapsing, is really not sustainable. Hierarchies are not sustainable because people are not better than other people just because. And that's the kind of society we have, where you have Trump, who got because his father had, and his children who got because their father and their grandfather had. The dumbest people on the planet, but they're up here. And that's why hierarchies don't work, because there's no way to make it fair. When the people at the top got the guns pointed at everyone else, it's never going to be fair. Now you take those guns away, and maybe naturally some people will rise at certain periods on certain projects for certain things, and then fall, and then other people will rise, and it will be more like that. But as long as they got them guns, cops, National Guard, military, it's gonna always fail. Let's see, where were we? These examples from the communist world suggested at one time that the progressive unfolding of modern natural science could just as well lead us to Max Weber's nightmare of a rational and bureaucratized tyranny rather than an open, creative, and liberal society. Our mechanism then needs to be extended, in addition to explaining why economically developed countries have urbanized societies and rational bureaucracies. The mechanism should further demonstrate why we should expect an eventual evolution in the direction of both economic and political liberalism. In this and the following chapter, we will investigate the mechanism's relationship to capitalism in two distinct cases: the advanced industrial societies and for underdeveloped ones. Having established that the mechanism in some way makes capitalism inevitable, we will then return to the question of whether it can be expected to produce democracy as well. And this mechanism they're talking about, I mean, I understand that a society is like a machine, but again, one of the levers or the tools, the big heavy thing in the back that they're calling a free hand, is really violence. Police. That's what it is. Even corporations use police. Soviet Union used police more directly. Corporations use it. If you don't pay your rent, they call the sheriff. Sheriff comes with guns, throws you out. And I'm sure in Soviet Union, well, they probably didn't have anything like evictions, because they probably had, everyone had a home as long as you worked, and everyone probably had a job. May not have been efficient, but despite the bad moral order that capitalism has had for both the traditionalist religious right and the socialist Marxist left, its ultimate victory as the world's only viable economic system is easier to explain in terms of the mechanism than is the victory of liberal democracy in the political sphere. But capitalism has proven far more efficient than centrally planned economic systems in developing and utilizing technology and in adapting to the rapidly changing conditions of a global division of labor under the conditions of a mature industrial economy. Again, we're going to stop here, but this book did not date well because it's obvious that this capitalism he's talking about failed. And again, one of the problems, and this makes sense why the person said that the Democrats and the neoliberals believe in this book. This book is functioning in a vacuum. It's talking about mechanism. It's talking about why capitalism gained as if capitalism was functioning without the police state. If capitalism was just this idea, this thing that caught on, no. Some powerful people took their arms and their guards and their military and their whatever the case may be, and they forced the rest of us to pay them for the natural resources, right? In the sense that we give up our labor and then we pay for things that really could be ours, or that they decide how much they're going to pay us and give us to process the natural resources into other things. We don't get to decide. And so that's what's really happening. And this doesn't even deal with that. You know, now, to be fair, if we're going to say the one idea which has nothing to do with the guns are pointed at us. But the way that the ruling class manipulates the soldiers, the police officers, and all of that, now that you can say is a mental thing. And the ruling class knows how to play mind games like that. But that's even breaking down because the ruling class's children and grandchildren don't have any idea. First of all, they don't even think of themselves as a ruling class. They just know that they're better because they have family money. They have no idea what their responsibility is. This mechanism that he's talking about, the machinery of government, the machinery of societies, they don't know that they're actually supposed to be making sure that that stuff runs. So what you have right now is you have ruling class corporate heads who don't want to maintain anything and don't want to use the state to do it, right? Even the old heads, if you notice, the Carnegies, the Fords, they have foundations that give out money to do different things. They built museums, they built libraries. There was different things they gave to universities. They built things for the rest of the society. That's making sure the machine works. Yeah, you're in charge of it. Yeah, I'm in charge of it. Yeah, I'm manipulating you. Yeah, I have guns to everybody's head and they're working for my benefit. But I also have to release something down. So you have corporate heads and ruling class and children who don't want to do anything, want to have any responsibility. The government, which are clerks for the ruling class, are not going to the ruling class and telling them, look, you have to give this much if you want to keep your kingdoms going, because they're the real rulers. Or you want to keep your rule, or you want to keep the society going. You want to keep your societies going. You want to stay in charge of it. You want to keep it functioning. Stable is more like it. Politicians today don't do that. Politicians today just run for office. They're television, internet politicians, right? Nobody's clicking the levers. Nobody. Or hardly anybody. That's why everything's falling apart and no one knows how or why. Or we know why, but no one's really accountable because no one's at the lever. You can't hold nobody accountable if no one's there. Right? Um, so that's what is happening today. That's why it's breaking down. The way So I'll give one example. This video is really long. I'll give two examples. One example um, is see, I just had a brain fart. But one example is how it's supposed to work. Let's do that one. So we had somebody running for office, Andrew Yang. He ran for president. He ran for mayor of New York City. Now, he was trying to get the ruling class to okay a universal basic income. At the time, it was in 2017, 18, 19, before the pandemic, $1,000 a month. I think he's upped it now to $1,200, $1,400 a month. Actually, some of the ruling class wanted it. That's why your stimulus was $1,400, those $1,400 checks. We were supposed to be moving toward that. But then you guys voted for this old knucklehead, the one that believes in this, and he's delusional. So Andrew Yang was proposing that. Some of the ruling class was like, nah. Some of the ruling class was like, this is the way it's going to be, because they knew most of the jobs were useless. So we had the pandemic, and they used the pandemic to roll a lot of this stuff out. Stimulus package, extra unemployment, child tax credit of $300 a month. So you were getting $1,400 a quarter, because I think we got 4 of those checks for the year, and you were getting $300 a month per child if you had children. This was the new way. People were working from home that could work from home. Only essential workers went out. So 40% of the labor force was home, were non-essential. Meaning you were just working jobs just for jobs. Bullshit jobs, as Max Kramer would say. It's a lot of bullshit jobs. And we actually had freedom. Some of us started corporations. People did different things. People had the stimulus. Some people who had children were able to save money and put money on down payment on homes and things like that. So I remember Mark Cuban, who was owner of the Dallas Mavericks. I think he sold it since. He's still CEO. I think runs basketball operations, but he sold it. But he was the owner then, multi-billionaire. He was against it. Then when the pandemic happened, I remember him being on the show with Andrew Yang saying, man, I don't care. I just want to go back to watching my team again. I'll give $2,000 a month if that's what it takes to go back to normal. So Andrew Yang did what actually politicians are supposed to do. They actually don't work for us. They work for the ruling class. But they work for us in the sense that they're supposed to go to the ruling class, advise them like a king in their court. Say, hey, listen, you want things to be stable. We have artificial intelligence. We have automations coming. We're losing a lot of jobs. This is what you need to make it stable. And the ruling class should listen. So Mark Cuban was against UBI. Then when the pandemic happened, he saw how if you don't have something, everything's going to shut down and nobody's going to be able to do anything. He was like, okay, we can't, this is not functional in his mind. And in nobody's mind, because nothing was really happening. So he got home with Andrew Yang. It's like, I changed my mind. I just want things to go back to normal. I would pay up to $2,000 a month. And I think the new poverty line is $20,000 for a single person, $20,100 or something like that. So that would have actually taken you $2,000 a month, would have taken you to $24,000, would have taken you over the new poverty line. Right? I don't know what $1,400 or I don't know if that would take you over, but so that's the way politicians are supposed to work. That's the way it is. That's not really democracy, because that's not us choosing. Here's where we come in. When we wreak havoc, then we put pressure on people to say, hey, we got to do something. So now we're right back at this moment, because the shoplifting crisis. People are walking in the store and taking Pampers. People are walking in the store and taking formula. People are walking in the store and taking food because we don't have any money to buy it. Right? People are starting to squat because there's no money to pay rent. Rents are so high. And not just in New York City and California, South Carolina, North Carolina. I was down there. Same rents as New York. And I couldn't understand why I would pay New York rent to live in South Carolina. Where the Klan is running the legislature? Nah, I can't understand that. And no public, well, a very small public transportation system. And when I was in South Carolina and got my degree, the transportation system was really good and simple. I went back, very complicated, makes you pay more. You see, nicer buses though, they invested in it. And I wrote it when I went back the second time. Man, really nice. But what I did is got the app on my phone and was able to pay that. And you pay one fare for 24 hours and you just use that for the 24 hours. So when you transfer buses, you just keep using that and you scan it on your phone. So that was cool. It actually was a decent system, but it was small. No subway system there. And where my sister lived was kind of far from downtown area where everything was. There was a library near her house, but then internet was bad, and it was like, I mean, bad. It took me like 5 hours to upload a video like this. So, and this was a couple of years ago. I mean, I talk about 10, 15 years ago. So, in the area where we were didn't have all the fiber optics. It wasn't wired, didn't have the towers. It wasn't. They were actually building that. They're actually building it now. So if I ever go back to visit, if I make it, if my body holds together, then it might be built when I go back. We'll see. Man, this video went longer than I thought. So, that's the way politics should work. I had another point, but I forgot it. The end of history seems like it's decent. I'll see you in the next reading if you are on my Patreon. If not, you have to wait till Friday for the next free one. You know how I do it: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And how do I do it? The Monday and Friday are usually free, and the Wednesday and Sunday are. All of them are behind the paywall. So when you join my Patreon, you get them all. Until next time, please take care. And it was very warm in New York City today, 75 degrees, so we're excited. And be safe.